Hey guys, got a pretty cool activity today. I'm going to show you how to make a logo. We're going to use both Photoshop and Illustrator for this, and we're going to take a picture of a sample sample logo from a website and just kind of copy that. So stick with me, should be fun. First thing I want you to do is go out to Google, and we're going to go to a local law firm's website. So type in Stanley Law Group, Columbia, South Carolina, and go ahead and go to their website. And what we're looking for, this logo that should pop up to the left right there, that logo right there. And the reason I chose this law firm is they, over the last few years, they've had some interesting billboards around town that I thought were pretty unique. So I decided to use them in our example. So to get a copy of that logo so we can kind of recreate it, go ahead and hit the space bar on your screen to stop their video. And that will put a black kind of background around that logo to make it easier to isolate. So after we do that, let's zoom in, Command plus. We do one, I think twice. And let's see if three's too much. Three's too much, so 2 times is all we wanted to zoom in, so we can isolate that. So let's take a picture of what's on our screen. So on the Mac, Command Shift and 3. That takes a picture of what's there. We know that's on our desktop, so we can close Chrome. And I want you to jump over to Photoshop. All right, so in Photoshop, we're going to go ahead and open that screenshot we just took. So open, and I'm going to my desktop, and when did I just take it? It should be, is it this one? Nope, this one. Yeah, it's that one. All right, so I'm going to open that one. And then I'm going to crop this down. So get your crop tool. If you don't see it over here in the tool panel, go to your search feature up here and type crop, C-R-O-P, and the crop tool should pop up. So once I have my crop tool, I always want to just hit this clear button. That will clear any aspect ratios that are locked in right there. And then just go ahead and crop this down. All right, and commit that. We have our logo right here, and we zoom in. All right, so if I was to utilize this logo in its current state, I can tell it's really pixelated, right? So if I wanted to theoretically blow this up 4 feet by 4 feet in our print lab across the hall, it would come out pretty bad. So I want to recreate this in Illustrator, a vector-based format, so we can make it really, really clear. So this is going to be used as an example. So let's save this. So File, Save As, and we're going to save it on the computer and desktop, and this is a brand new computer, so I need to create a new folder. So new folder right there on my desktop. I'm going to call it Image Editing. You should already have this. And I'll create a subfolder. So this one's going to be called it's April 1st today, so I'll just put April 1st, April 1. And call it sample logo. And the PNG file format is fine. All right, so there's our sample logo. So let's analyze the sample logo. So looking at this, I know I can recreate that S in Illustrator just with the text tool. Same thing with the numbers on both sides. These lines right there, that can be created with the pen tool with the large stroke. This goldish beige background, whatever color you want to call it, can be recreated in Illustrator with the rectangle tool. And this black rectangle with no fill can also be created with the rectangle tool with no fill in Illustrator. This scale of justice right here, it could be recreated in Illustrator with the pen tool, but I want to show you a different method today. We're going to use a process called image trace in Illustrator to recreate, to take a bitmap picture and convert it to a vector that we can then make scalable and blow up in size. So to do this, we need to go find a picture that's much higher quality than this. If I was to try to image trace this scale right there, and I tried to do it, it comes out really bad. So let's go back to Chrome, and let's see, just go legal scale image. Legal scale image is my search term. I'm going to hit enter. Let me just maximize this, and I want to go to images right there. Alright, so the higher the resolution of your image, the better quality the image trace will produce, the higher the quality image trace will produce in Illustrator. So let me look at this one right here. I'm just going to click on it. Pretty small right there. It's only 301 by 301, so let me keep looking. Let's see what this one is. That's much better. Let me just right click this, see if I can open it in a tab, because if it lets you open images in a new tab, you can generally get a higher resolution. So, and it looks like it did. So I go to this tab right here, and I have a really good illustration of the scale of justice. So let me right click this to save it, and right click, save as. So if you find a different scale online, it has like a checkerboard background indicating that it's a PNG or transparent, and it comes out that it isn't, don't worry, just follow the same process that I'm going to show you in a minute or two. Let's put that in my downloads. I'll just type scale and hit save. Close that. I won't need Chrome again today, and we're going to start off in Photoshop. So I'm going to click on there so it jumps to Photoshop, and I'm going to open that image. So open. And I know it went to my downloads, so I'm going to go downloads right there. Okay, let that do it. All right, downloads, and I can see my scale is, why won't that swell? Because I'm in here already. All right, so I should open up my scale in just a second. Don't know why it's taking so long. There we go. All right, so I have my scale now. I was doing this yesterday in class, and a few students, the scale they found online was a different color mode. So if you open your scale up and it says index over here, just remember that's a different color mode, so you need to change your color mode. So if it says index, go to image on the menu bar, go to mode, and go from index color and change to RGB, and everything will look normal. So I'm going to unlock my background here, and I'm going to make this real simple. I want to mask everything except the scale away, and because I have a high enough resolution image here, I can simply go to my magic wand tool. So select your magic wand tool. If you don't see it, go to your search feature up here, type in magic wand, and it'll come up. I'm going to take my tolerance to 40, so 40. And let's just have our add to button there, just in case you have an image of a scale where you have to select here and here because it's too thin. So let's click right there. And so I got the entire scale with that selection. And now I'm simply going to mask everything away. Okay? And masking everything away, I am left with this image. Now, remember on a mask, as long as the mask is selected over here, we can use our brush tool with the color black on it. So reset your color to black and white and flip it around so black is the foreground color. And then let's go to our brush up here, because it looks like I have a soft round brush. I want to make that solid brush, hard round brush. So I go to my general brush folder right there, click hard round brush, and now I'm simply going to mask away the part of the scale I don't want. So as I zoom in here, all right, I'm going to bump my brush size down. All right, and let's get this right. So like I told you last week, or I've taught you this semester, you can draw straight lines with the brush by holding shift. So I'm going to place a point right there, hold shift on the keyboard, hold it down, put a point over there, and it takes a straight line, or a straight line brush. Actually, I'm going to move that up a little bit, so I'm holding shift still. Let me just get that part right there. All right, that looks pretty good. Let me zoom out. All right, so I have this image. Now, I do know the logo we're going to copy. These scale, oops, we'll call those the baskets. I don't know what they're called on the scale, but they're longer than what this image is. So we're going to take a couple extra steps here. So number one, I'm going to apply this mask. So right-click your mask, choose Apply Mask. All right, so now it's just a regular image with a transparent background. And now we're going to use our Polygonal Lasso tool. So that should be the third button down, middle option. Once again, if you don't see it, type it in the search feature. You should be able to find it. So we're going to use the Polygonal Lasso tool to make selections and then put each one of these baskets on its own layer so we can elongate it. All right, so I'm going to put a anchor point right there, put an anchor point there, and then I'm simply going around this thing quickly. It doesn't matter if you go off the canvas as long as you connect to the initial anchor point. So now I have that selection. I'm going to put it on its own layer. So layer on the menu bar, new, and layer via cut. And that scale is now on its own layer. And if I hit the eyeball, it's hidden, right? All right, let's do the same thing with the basket on the right. So I'm going to select the original layer. That's the biggest mistake people make, is they don't go back and select that layer. And then I'm using the same method. So point there, and then quickly going around this basket to make that selection, and back to layer on the menu bar, new, and layer by cut. So now I've got each basket on its own layer, and now I have the ability to elongate it. So I'll start with the basket on the right, make sure my show transform controls is chosen, and drag that, oops. All right, I just want it to elongate, not get wider. And when I pulled down, it got wider, and that's because this link is clicked right here. So if it happened to you as well, go ahead and uncheck that link. And actually, let me do this, take it back to its original point. Uncheck this link, and now I'm simply going to drag that down and do the same thing on the other side. Drag it down, and they are the same length right now. Okay, and let me zoom out. I think that looks pretty good with what I want to do. So I'm going to save this image. So let's go to File, Save As, and it's fine to, we're going to save it on our computer. And format says Photoshop. I want it to be either JPEG or PNG, and to get to those options, I need to click this button that says Save As Copy. So click that button, because that button generates many more formats we can choose. So you can choose either JPEG, PNG, doesn't matter. I'll just go to JPEG, and we'll go scale, and I'm going to call it PS for Photoshop, meaning that I just made the corrections from Photoshop. And let me just throw it on my desktop in my image editing folder, April 1st, and hit save, and we're good. All right, so we're done with Photoshop. Go ahead and close Photoshop. Don't save, and go into Illustrator. And I'm going to open let's just create new. Let's go to New File, and let's make it in inches. So specify inches right here. So inches, and I'll just go 5 inches by 5 inches. Keep in mind everything's gonna be a vector, so we can blow it up to 100 feet by 100 feet if we want. So this is 5 inches by 5 inches, and I'm gonna place that image I just created in Photoshop. So File, on the menu bar, let's go to Place right there. And I think I put it in image editing, April 1st, and scale PS is what I just called it. Zoom out. All right, I can see my scale is much bigger. So with my left hand, I'm going to hold Shift on the keyboard and drag the corner of this smaller, and then zoom in. All right, so this is what I have. All right, so I have an image. It's pixel based. So in its current state, if I blew this up about 100 feet by 100 feet, it'd become very, very pixelated. But I'm going to convert it to a vector. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And you'll see in my properties panel to the right. So if you don't see your properties panel over here, just simply go to window on the menu bar and put a check mark. Where is my properties? I'm not seeing it. I'm using an updated version of, there it is. Put a check mark by properties. If you don't see it, your image trace option will be right here. So now I'm going to click image trace, and your software may be working just a little different because this software is responding differently on this new computer than the one I was working on yesterday. So it may look slightly different. You may have a drop down next to image trace as opposed to just the button. You may be seeing image trace up here in your options bar. But this new computer, I think it's the operating system's acting a little different. So I'm going to go to image trace, and let me choose, because this is black and white logo, I'm going to go with black and white logo, and the software is going to go through and vectorize everything that's there. All right, so it took it from pixels to paths, and now I need to hit this expand button. So I hit expand. It's going to expand all the paths that it just created. You may see expand up here. And now I'm going to just hit command minus a couple times so I can move this scale off my artboard, because the next step, I want to get rid of the white around the scale and within the baskets. So to do so, after you expanded, get your direct selection tool. That is the white arrow right there. And then you're going to click on the outside of that scale and hit the delete key and do the same thing within the baskets themselves. And now you have a vectorized scale that's isolated, right? And I'm going to just widen this just a little bit, okay? All right, so now we're going to bring in our sample image that we took from their website. So let's go to File, and we're going to place this. There's my sample logo. I'll just place it right there next to it so I can see. I'm going to blow it up just a little bit bigger. All right. So we can see ours is slightly different. I probably in Photoshop I could have taken some of that stuff off, but it really doesn't matter. So in relation to this background, that seat appears to be similar in size. So let's go ahead and go to our layers panel right here. And I'm going to expand layer 1 to see what's there. So I can see the linked image right there, and I can see the scale right there. So now I'm going to create a solid color background that matches this. So without making sure nothing is selected on the canvas, you're going to go to your eyedropper right here and click on that background. Never seen that before. All right, so it sampled that color, and now I can go grab my rectangle with that solid fill, and I'm going to drag it from the top right or top left to the bottom right, and you'll see it covers everything up because that's its position in the layer panel. So let's drag that below the bottommost object. Okay. So that's what I have. Now I'm grabbing making sure nothing is selected. I'm going to grab my text tool, reset my colors to black and white, select the stroke, and choose no stroke. So now, if I click on my canvas, all right, it jumped back to black. I don't know why. Double click that and go to white. All right, so white as my foreground, text tool selected. I'm going to type a capital S, and let's see if I go back to, so I have my capital S, I'm going to select it. Let me see if I can get to a different view option. Let me go, it didn't give me my options bar up there, so we'll have to work through the properties panel. It's no problem. If you see your text options up here in the options bar, you can use that. I'm going to go straight to properties right here, and that's my text size, so I'm going to take this up to 72, which is the largest preset that's there. Font style, I'm going to go to Arial narrow, so go up to your A's, Arial narrow, and then in the options right there, we're going to go with bold. So Arial, narrow, and bold, and then I'm simply going to size this up to what I think is appropriate. Okay, so there I have my S created. Now I'm going to create my other rectangle, so make sure nothing is selected on the canvas. Reset your colors to black and white. Make sure white's on the top, and then choose no fill. So that's just going to give me a black stroke, and I'm going to recreate that rectangle with no fill. All right, so now I'm going to simply grab my rectangle tool, go up here, top left, approximately right there, go down to my bottom right. I'm just trying to get this as close as I can. All right, so that looks good. And in my property panel over here, let's bump our stroke up to, let's try 12. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And now let's go ahead and recreate those 3 lines that are there. So I'm going to use my guides to kind of see where the center is right here. So I'm going to go to View on the menu bar, and where's my ruler? All right, go down to where you see ruler and choose Show Ruler. All right, and I don't know why mine's over here, but as long as you can get to your ruler, you can click on it and you can drag one of these guides. And I'm going to put mine right in the middle right there. It puts this guide, and I'm going to use this to center these lines. So now, making sure nothing is selected, I'm going to reset my colors to black and white. I'm going to make sure white is on top, and then I'm going to no fill. And now with my pen tool, I'm going to recreate these 3 lines. So I'm going to start right about there. Do that, and then in my properties panel, take that up to 12. Okay, I have my first line. I'm making sure to click off it. I'm getting my pen tool. I'm going to recreate my second line, and that. Make sure it's size 12, and I'm going to have to select that and use my arrow key to move it over just a tad, just try to get it lined up. That looks pretty good. And making sure nothing's selected, I'm going back to my pen tool, and I'm going to recreate the 3rd line, right? Let's see. Did I get lucky? That's a little too far to the right. Let me select it. And arrow key once to the left. That looks pretty good. All right, so that's what I want there. I'm thinking maybe this comes down once, so I selected it. I'm hitting the down arrow 1 time and then clicking off it. And that looks lined up pretty good. Let me hide my guide. So I'm going to View on the menu bar. Looking for where's Show. All right, Guides, Hide Guides. So View on the menu bar, Guides, Hide Guides. That line goes away, and now I simply need to recreate my numbers, right? So let me grab my text tool, and I'm going to click right there. I'm going to double click this foreground box, choose white, hit OK, and I'm going to type 19. And I'm still in Arial narrow, bold, 72-point font, and I may need to reduce the size just a little bit. So I'm holding Shift, grabbing the corner sizing handle, and that's what I have. It's still a little too big. Let me size that down just a little bit more. And I'm just eyeballing this, guys. So I have the text on the left. I'm going to do the same thing with text on the right. And click right there. We'll do 90. Oops, got to highlight it. Change it to white. And resize it. So let me take that down. Should be more specific. All right, let's see. Let's just type 48 right there. So the text on the number on the left is 48. The right is 48. The number on the left needs to be 48. So I'm gonna double click there, type 48, and now I've matched the number size. And maybe just move this one to the left a little bit. I'm doing this with the arrow keys. And I think, I'm going to move this one a tad to the right. Arrow keys, okay. That's close. It may not be exact, but I'm trying to kind of move through this quickly. So once you get it to that point, guys, make sure you have your layers panel showing right there so I can see everything you did. And let's go ahead and hide the sample. hit Command plus to zoom in, take a picture of this, and turn it into Schoology. All right, hope you had fun, guys. Hope you learned something. Talk to you soon.